Everything's on fire. Everything's been going wrong. The subreddit's been a nightmare for easily a month. We got Sam here. We got Liam here. I'm Rick. This is Reddit Talks Clash.
What are we calling this? Is this a podcast?
Reddit Talks Clash.
I feel like our intros have declined so much.
That was a good one, dude. Shut up.
Yeah, it's all right.
This has been a really crazy couple weeks for Clash. Obviously, we're gonna dive into the Eric stuff. That'll be our first and probably our main topic. And then on a positive note, we also got to design the challenge base that's in game right now. So we'll talk a little bit about that, and then we'll circle back and just see how much in shambles the Clash community's been the last couple of weeks with all the massive bugs, the people hating the balance. Obviously, Eric. I know, man. It's been a negative few weeks.
It has.
So, all right, I guess straight in, Eric. I assume all you guys are familiar. If you're not, there's some YouTube recaps that sum it all up.
If we have to repeat the story one more time, I think I'm gonna cry.
And then you need a recap of all the YouTube recaps.
Just in case, because I don't expect anyone to stop and go look at a YouTube video. Very, very briefly, Eric was dropped from casting the Worlds. Eric, One Hive, Clash with Eric. Him, if you're not familiar, we had him on 2 years ago. It's been a while, but anyway, he was dropped from casting Worlds. Then about a week later, he was also suspended for 6 months from the creator program. What he believes the reason is, although I don't believe it was explicitly stated in his email, at least the one he showed, was that he was engaging in some kind of bullying towards other creators, mostly Fluxy and the players for VM Legacy. And then he kind of he started lighting some fires right after that. He was complaining about potential copyright abuse from Supercell. He was talking about selective enforcement of the TOS and the esports rules. So I think we'll tackle it in those two different areas. First, we'll talk about the esports side of it, and then we'll talk about all the stuff with Time to Clash, Adam, and all the copyright abuse stuff. So,
yep.
Dude, but first, dude, how crazy has it been moderating the sub, through this for you guys? It's
just been so weird because with all the drama, the problem with drama is lots of stuff happen and lots of stuff happens, and lots of people have new information which they want to post. And you end up wanting not to touch things too much because you don't want to be accused of censoring either side. So the second some random piece of stupid information comes out about ex-pro player who did this thing maybe from a Twitter conversation, you feel obliged to keep it, and it's really weird because you kind of instinctively just want to get rid of it all because there's so much crap on the subreddit. But there has been a lot of spam, so that's been a bit of an issue moderating. But I think we've generally taken a bit of a hands-off approach, mostly, and that's had a few people complaining, but I think it's mostly worked.
Some of us have been a little more hands-off than others, if I'm looking at the numbers.
Are you talking about me,
I've been a busy man. I've been on holiday. I was on holiday during the drama.
I don't want to hear you complain at all right now. So
I was on holiday during the drama, so I didn't even realize what was happening for a day or two.
Perspective, I have 1,200 mod actions in the last 7 days.
Yeah, that's more usual.
Liam has 200, and Liam's very active.
I don't know what I have.
Sam, you have 66.
Yeah, it's not great, is it?
Yeah, I mean, that's 10 a day.
Yeah, well, in fairness, I was on holiday all of last week. I wasn't taking time off my day to moderate, so yeah, I think it's reasonable.
My biggest complaint is that it's just so repetitive. How many posts do you need to see about the same thing? And at what point can you say, "Oh, enough's enough. Now we can start removing them"? It's I think Rick, you were more in favor of "Oh, let's keep them up," or let's keep a few. I was like, why? Yeah. We've already heard everything we needed to see. Or... Well,
so Reddit is things kind of stick on Reddit for a day or two. Whenever we get a flood of posts, I always kind of think of it it feels like it's Armageddon, but really we're just kind of doing a Noah's Ark thing, where we will let everything drown and then we save 2 posts, So we remove most everything that's repetitive, keep a couple up that are on the front page so everyone can see them and contribute. But yeah, we really only remove the the straight reposts. Like we don't need 7 people posting the exact same direct link to one of the Eric videos. But yeah, as far as if people have opinions, we just generally just try and let them go instead of trying to censor it all, because inevitably, no matter what the reason is, people are going to accuse us of taking sides or being shills or whatever. So try and let a lot of especially the negative feedback stay up.
I mean, it's not really about censoring because we're not trying to censor anyone. It's just about keeping the spam of the same kind of post down, right?
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to censor someone's.
Well,
No.
It's just a
not at all.
perception, isn't it? The second you start removing a repost, apparently you're attacking someone's right to free speech, and it all gets a bit funny sometimes. But yeah, I think generally it's been moderated okay. It's just exhausting, isn't it? Because I mean, it's also made me kind of laugh how many posts we've also got of people going, guys, is it just me who doesn't care about the drama? Well, no, it's not, because if you just scroll through new for a few minutes, you'll see that apparently 10 other people feel the need to post that they also don't care about the drama. So that's been enjoyable too.
That's actually the other thing I noticed is in game as well. Like a lot of players were like they just don't notice or they don't even know about it.
And
it's like
how
many
would
people?
you? Why would you know about it?
Is it really just the vocal minority, and it's like the people who care about esports, or I wonder like what percentage wise, how many people are even aware of this?
Every time we remove something, like it takes away a piece of the puzzle from someone on the outside who's trying to figure out what's going on. So you can see a lot of people having like a normal-ish debate about whatever, and then all of a sudden you just see like a mod removal and one of us scolding a guy, and it looks like, oh hey, like they're taking the Eric side, or they're taking the Itsu side, when in reality it's like, no, I just removed a death threat because like literally people are talking about like we need to like load up your guns and go after Itsu, like arm up, let's march on Helsinki. And it's probably like extreme jokes, but
Really, you don't think a bunch of Redditors are planning to actually march on Helsinki?
you never know. Like we've had, like we've seen bomb threats before, and like death threats
True.
are rare, but like it literally, like people were talking about shooting Itsu.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's about not making assumptions, right? So if you see one of us remove something, you don't want to say, "Oh, he's taking this side," or whatever. Like, don't make that assumption. Maybe question, be like, "Oh, why do you remove this?" And then, if you ask politely, we'll always answer and give you a reason for it. So it's about staying polite and kind, I guess.
Right, should we stop rubbing our own backs and go on to the actual stuff?
Yeah.
So I think the big thing started obviously around esports, right? I mean the first kind of drama. I mean it's going to be multi-layered drama. The first drama was the fact that Max from VN esports was removed from the team, from the roster, without consultation of all the members, or especially not without consultation of him. And that broke with the precedent that was set by other teams previously, where if a roster change wants to be made by a team that had already qualified for a golden ticket, the Clash Worlds, all members of the roster and the person being swapped, basically, so in this case Max, would have had to agree. That didn't happen in this case, it seems, and the request was just granted to, it appears, Fluxy of VM. And yeah, is this inconsistent? Is this a problem?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like no one showed in the rule book where it literally says like everyone, including the player being removed, has to consent. Like I haven't seen that cited or quoted anywhere, but there is screenshots of it happening up to, like Eric posted last night showing screenshots where an admin from Supercell did say, hey, I need everyone's consent, please give it to me now in this chat, and it moved on. So that's clearly the policy, whether or not it's written in the official rules. And if that wasn't followed for VM's case, I don't know, I think that's an issue. Like the way the rule that everyone is showing was written did say like, hey, the same 5 players that earn the ticket have to play in the finals. But there was a sentence on the end that said like, unless otherwise approved by Supercell, which people are kind of focusing on. But I think it's a fair sentence to have too, because you never know what's going to happen. Like Gaku loses his hands in a wood chipper, like he's going to have to be replaced. There needs to be room to allow replacements. Or obviously he'd probably consent in that situation, but like another extreme example, let's say someone murdered another person, was in prison, and then refused to
I'm
consent
laughing
to
'cause
give
they're
up their
funny
spot.
scenarios. So I'm not actually laughing at you.
No, I'm just saying there has to be room in there to make an exception where the person being removed might not consent, and that's fair. Where you judge them on is, are they applying that policy equally to all the different teams? And it wouldn't appear so.
No. I
But
mean, the question is why, first and foremost. I don't know if Fluxy has great friends in Supercell, but it's either it's at best a stupid mistake and just inconsistency. At worst, it's some sort of, well, I don't want to say corruption because that feels the wrong word, but at worst, it is some sort of preferential treatment, right? And
Yeah,
that's just coming happening in
maybe.
esports.
Because we don't know what's happening behind the scenes too.
Well,
We've
exactly.
seen we've only seen opinions from outraged people and people who are outraged on everyone else's behalf and just love to feed into the internet drama. Maybe it was some BS, maybe it's not, but the perception that the rule is being applied unfairly and differently to different teams is something I do think Supercell needs to address. If they're going to address anything out of this whole Eric fiasco, it needs to be that.
And I think it's important to consider that VM Esports did actually release a statement about Max, with plenty of screenshots essentially trying to prove that Max did not possibly have a great relationship with the rest of his teammates, was slagging them off a bit outside of the team, and didn't seem to always want to work with them. So it's not to say that Max wasn't a problem or was perfect, but even if that's kind of irrelevant, right? I think people have been focusing a lot on what Max might or might not have done, but I think the more important part is that they set the precedent of consulting everyone and that for a roster change, and then they just didn't do it. And no matter what Max did, it didn't seem like he did anything absolutely heinous, and you just can't apply rules inconsistently like that.
But so here's the thing I don't get is if you're trying to get a roster change, like, and someone's in it and they're going to be changed out, then when would they ever agree to that, right? Like,
If you're moving teams, for example, if you're changing teams, that has happened. If the
but so
problem
then
is that it's not an
yeah.
ordinary tournament. It's the fact there is thousands and thousands of dollars on the line, and you do get a minimum amount just for qualifying. So even if VM crashed out this tournament without winning a single match, they are still guaranteed money. And by unilaterally removing Max, they are depriving him of the winnings. And I think
Yeah.
that's quite a big issue.
But so in that case, why hasn't this happened before, where people wanted to switch out someone and like because then no one's going to agree to that then if they're being ousted.
That's another thing. Like we don't you don't know what you don't know too. Like maybe it's more common, maybe this is the first time and this is why it's causing an outrage. I don't personally know, and that, like, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, it appears that it really appears that there's a problem here and it should probably be addressed.
Yeah, and I think that's relatively uncontroversial, right? I think the biggest thing is,
Oh
are
yeah,
Supercell going to address it? And I have a feeling they're not.
they have addressed why players are banned and things before too. Like, we're going to talk about P Castro and Navi. P Castro was caught breaking the TOS for at least for piloting, maybe for other bot accounts too. I don't remember, but P Castro was banned from competition for a year, and Navi lost their silver ticket. Just yesterday, Ninja, apparently one of the players for VM Legacy, was caught breaking the TOS. They banned a ton of his alts, and then later his main account too, I believe. And so far, it doesn't appear that Ninja was issued a year-long competition ban as P Caster was, and it doesn't appear that VM Legacy is going to lose their golden ticket. So again, there's this appearance that the rules are being applied in an inequitable manner for different teams. There's the appearance of favoritism for Fluxy. Whether or not it's happening, I don't know, because we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But like I've been saying, merely the appearance of it should warrant Supercell weighing in with a comment and clarifying things, because it just compromises the integrity of the entire system.
Yeah. And I mean, we see that as well on the subreddit when people accuse us of being like unfair or applying the rules differently for people. I think it's really that kind of the inconsistency that bothers people, and I think that's what's at play here as well. Is they feel like it's inconsistent.
everyone can be innocently guilty of it, right? Like I'm sure we've all applied rules inconsistently in the past, and we might have got called up on it in mod mail, and we would have fixed it, right? We would have at least said something. So if it's a genuine inconsistent mistake, it should just be addressed, and then it's not a problem. But
Yeah, but here's the thing:
I
is
don't
like
know.
with Supercell, who can you go to address it? Like with us, you can go to a different mod, but there it's like you're talking to a brick wall. Sometimes it feels like.
If you're talking to customer support, yeah, it's a brick wall. But like there are esports community managers, there are admins and employees of Supercell who take a more hands-on approach, at least for the worlds, which is it's a big thing. They do take it seriously. They don't pawn that off on unpaid mods like us to determine the huge
Yeah.
things. So there are paths to communicate these concerns and get answers.
Yeah, I suppose it's the thing. If you're not aware of it, or if you don't know, it might seem different than it actually is, and it's all about the perception of it.
Yeah. I guess finally, what we'll touch on this aspect of it all too. There's a lot of accusations about bot accounts, account trading. I guess is what we'll focus on. So Ninja, that's what it appears was what tripped him up and got all his alts banned. It's apparently fairly common in the pro scene, is what we hear all the time. How much do you think Supercell should really care?
Ooh. I think they should care because I think people like regular players, in a sense, the second there's suspected of trading accounts, they are hit with the ban hammer, right? And I don't know whether Supercell's giving more leniency to pro players not investigating. I don't exactly know what their process is. I don't want to accuse them of like waving things, away just because they're pros. But I see no reason why they shouldn't come down hard on them. Because a lot of these pros do have max accounts anyway that they got legitly. They just like to get more ones to have more alts, and then they can do more practice bases, which I guess is less important now. You can FC your own base and whatnot, but I think they should come down hard on it. I don't really see a reason why they can't, because there are plenty of people who have maxed their bases legitly, and these pro players they're not gods. They're not the president of Clash. They can experience the same rules that we do.
Yeah, even though it seems that way sometimes. But I mean, is it that are they not aware of it? Surely they know, right? Like if we know, they would know.
And that's the thing. That's why I don't want to accuse them of anything, because I don't know what kind of checks they do and whether they do actually just brush it aside or whether they're just actually unaware. But if it is true, because also we're just talking about just general chit chat, right? We haven't got a ton of hard proof that half these Clash Worlds teams are using board accounts, but it is the general, I guess, working assumption, right? Which I think we've all heard from different people a lot of the time. So yeah, I'm not a fan.
Also, people in the past have differentiated between like having a clean main account and then whatever for your alts too. And it seems to be maybe more in recent history where if your alts go down, like all your linked accounts also would go down with it too. But I'm not too positive on that, so don't quote me on it. Because I don't like a lot of people will have a clean main and then care less about their alts.
Yeah.
But yeah, like also like if they did a sweep, like what percentage of the people who already have golden tickets will be just booted, and is that acceptable? And then also like what do you do about the world finals with all these teams? You just if you look back to the Tour de France when they disqualified all these people, it's like technically a lot of the guys who won that bike race actually finished like 27th just because everyone above them was disqualified, and they retroactively years later are now a Tour de France winner. Are they just going to have to work down the second, third, fourth, fifth, ninth place teams to find an entirely clean team to go to Worlds? And then how fun is that to watch?
And that's ultimately why they're not going to tackle it, right?
Well, yeah, because if everyone's doing it and they ban everyone, then there's no one left to play, or watch.
Like I'm wondering if that's part of the calculus why Navi had lost their ticket, but VM Legacy won't. Like Navi also had 2 more qualifiers after that to kind of get back in, and I don't even know if they did. Honestly, maybe they will this month. But like if VM Legacy lost their golden ticket, it's too late for them to get involved in this round of qualifiers, and now I don't know. You like, are they just totally out of luck for the worlds? I don't know. I don't know if that's true, and I don't know if that's part of the math behind the decision, or if there's a decision forthcoming still.
At the end of the day, the lesson is we don't know, and it's
Yeah,
dangerous to assume stuff that you're not, positive about, because
that
that's how rumors start. And yeah,
like that's been the most frustrating thing too, is trying to qualify everything we say with like, also I don't know. Like there could be more things behind the line, but also you don't know either, you boners. and a lot of people are out
yeah.
there saying things like they're facts, and we know the exact same amount of things, but you're being a dummy about it.
But that's the thing, like we don't actually know the same things because you're not looking at people are only focusing on what they like want to believe. So it's like when you don't start from the same set of facts, that's how you can lead to two entirely different sides, which I feel like is also kind of happening in politics in the U.S. at the moment. But like basically, where people don't believe the same things because they're not exposed to the same facts, and so maybe that I suppose on the subreddit that's less of an issue though because everyone can see the same posts. But yeah,
And also,
maybe.
it's Clash of Clans, not politics, so it's a little bit less, a
Well,
little
that's the
bit
thing.
less crazy.
Politics is just humans social interacting with each other, whereas that's the same thing with Clash. People are people at the end of the day.
Like people have accused Itsu of buying accounts for the longest time too. Like one of his, Itso account has showed up on like Malaysian global leaderboards or whatever, and that's obviously not him. Or it wasn't. But like, also like, hey, if that was 5 years ago, how much do you really care to enforce it now?
Yeah, it's but the retroactivity. I don't think that's going to go anywhere, and I don't. It's like focus on the present, not the past.
And then you get into the conversation of how bad even is it to buy an account, and then you start to think, okay, well, if it's not really that bad, are we going to really go back and ban someone for doing it 5 years ago? No, you're not, are you?
Even real crimes have a statute of limitations, man.
Yeah, exactly.
You can beat the hell out of someone, and then as long as it's not reported for a couple of years, like it's basically like it never happened.
Yeah.
Careful
You
now, Vic. You're not encouraging this rule breaking.
No, and I'm not like no, like anyone that does have an account banned, even if it was bought 10 years ago, I don't really have a lot of sympathy for that. If it's being selectively enforced, that is the issue. If it's going to affect one of the pros in Worlds, it should affect them all equally, and there should be there needs to be a line drawn, and everyone needs to be made aware of that.
Well, I don't know how much more we got to say on this, but I was wondering if talking about legality, if we want to go on to the copyright stuff, which was the kind of
Right.
other half, because I realized we're almost halfway through the podcast and we've just been waffling on about about buying accounts in esports. So if we're gonna get through everything, we should probably get going into the copyright stuff.
Yeah. So this is where I kind of transition to, because I think I agree a lot with what Eric has been saying and the issues he and other people have raised about esports. Then when we're moving to the copyright strike stuff too, this is where I think a lot of it kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
So I guess short background on this too. Time to Clash. Adam, same person. We'll probably use those names interchangeably. He was a former streamer, caster, did a lot of cool stuff. I think a lot of people like his content. I like him. Had a bad breakup with another creator, Lady B, years ago, and the fallout from that, whatever it was, irrelevant. Because again, we don't know. But the fallout from that bad breakup and their actions and the actions of people around them led to Adam being removed from the creator program, and he's been trying to get back in, and he had a lot of people helping him, trying to support him. But then one day started talking about leaks on a stream, and pretty soon after that, Supercell slammed 16 of his videos with a copyright violation, which is enough to terminate his channel. They also went after his Discord, and that was kind of the end of the end of his Clash time. So people are saying that was an abuse of the copyright system. What do you guys think?
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, and I think we can get onto the legality and the illegality of it later. And I think that's also a minefield because everyone on Reddit suddenly thinks they're copyright law experts. But morally, it's completely wrong, isn't it? If if you're just using copyright laws to basically shut up someone you don't like, and it is misuse, isn't it? Really, even if it's not illegal, it is deeply, deeply immoral to go, oh, I don't like what this person's saying. You know, there goes their whole channel, and I'm not sure. I can't imagine it was his livelihood for Time to Clash, but if they started doing it to say Eric, I mean, that's his job really currently. I'm pretty sure, and it's completely morally unjust.
But I mean, when we're talking about the copyright system, are we, because there's a distinction between the legal copyright system and then YouTube's own copyright system. So you're saying they're using the legal one.
I know it's weird to me too because people are bringing up these legal distinctions. Like people are in the chat saying, talking about fair use in Finland, and it's kind of irrelevant too because like, hey, whatever the legal status of those claims is, it apparently fit the policy of YouTube and also probably Twitch.
And I think it's worth saying quickly that YouTube's copyright system has been under the spotlight for a long time. not just because of this Clash drama. I mean, and to be fair, it's mostly been super under the spotlight. But YouTube has got themselves into a lot of not trouble, but a lot of controversy over the way their copyright system can so easily be exploited by basically anyone, and they could just claim random sounds or random music in your video, say it's theirs, and then either stop you from getting revenue from your videos or get them taken down. And they basically don't really need to prove anything. They can just submit a claim, and YouTube just seems to act on it. So, personally, it's not hard for Supercell to do what they want to do.
Legal or not is beside the point, but I think where the discussion, like if we're going to try and phrase it in a better way, the discussion should focus on morally right or not.
Yes, because let's be honest, none of us are actual experts in copyright law, and it's so frustrating. Like I remember Rick Hughes saying a few weeks ago, the funniest thing to do on Reddit is to go something you think you're an expert in and see what random people on Reddit are saying, and usually they're completely inaccurate. Because I can imagine if any of us were copyright law experts, we've been looking at some of these Reddit threads that come up over this stuff and absolutely cringing because there are all these tons of people who just seem to cite fair use copyright. Oh, I know this, I know that, and I bet they don't really know what they're saying. So yeah, it's irrelevant, isn't it? Legality, really.
It's basically just buzzwords at that point.
Yeah.
Do you guys think it was morally right or wrong for Supercell to nuke this guy's channel?
Wrong.
It was
Wrong.
definitely
Completely
wrong.
wrong.
Like, no, I'm gonna have to lean that way too. Like, I don't like the phrasing that they silenced him because he's obviously still free to talk about it. He put out a 1 hour video with a lot of context. It was a really compelling watch. So he's not silenced, like in any meaningful way. He can still talk about it. He's still out there. I think the word that's been in my head the most lately has been petty.
Yeah. It's just such an awful way of dealing with criticism, isn't it? I mean, it's one thing kicking people out of a creative program who you think is crossing a line, but
everything that I've seen, and again, I can't say enough how much I don't know about all this, but from everything I've seen, it really seems like the straw that broke the camel's back was him starting to discuss leaks, and he didn't. From what I've seen, he didn't show any leak. He didn't give any details, but he was explicit that people in the creator program shared with him info about a future update. It would have been the spiky ball from the timing. But
yeah.
hey, obviously people were sharing info with him with that, and he was repeating it on stream. I think taking down that video would have been morally fine and justifiable. There's a lot of history with him and Supercell too that goes years back. And that obviously would have played a part in nuking the entire channel. Whether or not that's right or wrong, I don't know that I have the info to comment on.
Yeah, I think we're agreed, right? It's wrong. You can't do that. It's a complete abuse. And yeah, I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, and that brings us to the next point is like what we can express this like feedback. We have our own opinions and we can voice them. We're not like obligated to think or to say certain things, which I found like you were debating with someone on Reddit about that, where like because you're in the creative program, people thought that you couldn't like speak negatively about Supercell. I was like, if you knew Rick, like you would know that he He speaks critical of them all the time.
Well,
But,
it's
uh,
weird.
Yeah.
It
Well,
is weird,
let's
isn't it?
not
Because
phrase me as like being always negative and critical. You know.
like you speak your mind, you don't feel like you have to censor yourself. At least.
But we all do, don't we? I mean, even on this podcast, even right now, none of us are sitting here worrying that Supercell is going to cut off ties with our such Clash of Clans, are we?
Well,
I
especially
don't
if
know.
you don't have any
I mean,
ties.
well,
Don't take this the wrong way, but I am different than you two by nature.
oh
You know,
yeah,
I have an NDA. I'm in the creator program, so I think a lot of this applies to me a little more directly. And also too, I want to circle back and be like, I still haven't wrapped my head around what kind of creator I really am. Because we're different than YouTubers. I'm not as influential as Eric
really.
and everyone else, blah blah. But I don't know. We'll come back to that too. But first, I do want to address. There's been claims and this perception that we're not allowed to be critical, and we absolutely are. Supercell welcomes it too. I almost want to open up Slack and read a message that that the very CM that people are talking about sent recently about how welcoming they are to critical feedback and how no one should feel the need to censor themselves. But there are ways to do it too. Remember when we had Judo on too? We asked him directly, like, "Hey, how do you feel comfortable giving critical feedback, and how and why?" And what he told us back then was, yeah, of course he does. You know, he just does it in a private place and not slamming them on his channel too. And there's a few reasons. You know, like, hey, I don't use Reddit as a platform to hate on Supercell, even when I do hate some of the things they do, because I can talk directly to the people who do it. Like, there's no, why would I shout out into the void, you know, just to rile up Reddit when I can go straight to the devs and the people who make these decisions and say, hey, I don't like this. Pretty much universally, creators pushed back against the cost of the apprentice builder, you know, in public, in open. Like, one person called it a scam. You know, like, but
Right.
for the most part, no one uses insightful language there because it's face to face with
Not
these
gonna help,
people.
yeah.
Yet you build a more personal relationship. You can see the results of your feedback and see it get applied, or see it, you know, or receive an explanation back why that's not realistic. It's a very open, I think, welcoming environment for feedback, both positive and negative. Like a lot of people have said that they don't feel comfortable giving negative feedback either in private or, you know, more obviously in public. And I can't argue with the way that they feel. I could just say that's not been my experience.
Yeah, and I think this is where it's worth adding that clearly there's a lot we don't know about the Eric scenario, because it's not like Supercell creators have never criticized Supercell before. It's not like we've never criticized Supercell before. And like you're saying, Rick, obviously you and a few other mods are in a different position where you are actually in the creator program. And you've criticized Supercell before. We've done some quite public things. With the fishing thing, we were very vocal on the subreddit, and there's never been a problem. So whatever we take from this, Supercell, I don't think are interested in just censoring people, because otherwise I think it would be a much, much bigger scandal. So I think it's just important to kind of summarize this with, we don't know all the facts, and there's clearly a lot more to it than just Supercell don't like people disagreeing with them.
Exactly. And what's important as well is like how you give the feedback. It's not that you're not allowed to give negative feedback. It's really about the method of delivery, I think. Right?
Yeah, but
Or
again, that's not out of like fear. At least for me,
Mm.
I've never got the impression that anyone is afraid to express negative feedback there. I've seen people carefully word things, but again, that's just professional and
It's just
personal
politeness, isn't it?
relationship
It's
level
not, yeah.
stuff. That's not fear. Like, if anyone else is afraid or has been retaliated against, you know, like, I'm unaware, and it would surprise me. I don't know, where are we? Let me see. In this conversation, in the conversations we've had the last few days too, I've kind of been speaking from the perspective as a creator, but, you know, hey, like, I am obviously not the same kind of creator as, you know, as Eric and Itsu and Carbon and all these guys who, you know, like, get invited to cast worlds and have a little more probably influence in Supercell. I don't know. I even hesitate just to say that too, because I know I've made suggestions that have made it into the game, and I've given them feedback that they've like applied. So how big is Reddit when we're talking about like creator status too? Like I don't know.
I don't know.
I think it could be also a thing where, like, because most people aren't in it, and maybe they're like envious of it, and so that's why any kind of hint or kind of avenue to rebel against it, they'll seize that opportunity.
Reddit as a platform is big. Right now, we're getting unique visitors between 100 and 150,000 a day. If we pin a message, there's going to be 150,000 eyeballs that see that sentence. Like, and we don't control most of the content on there. We block stuff that breaks the rules. We can make mod posts. We decide what's pinned, but like regardless, the posts that we do pin get a lot of eyeballs on them too. And most days, our pinned posts on Reddit are going to see more views than what Eric and Itsu were getting on a daily video combined. So there is this weird dynamic too, where like I'm not in direct control of that, but kinda we are. And the reach of Reddit is huge.
Yeah, because I think it's to distinguish, being able to distinguish between the fact that we're not influential. I mean, no one really knows who Rick, Sam, and Liam are, but we do have a decent degree of control over a platform which can be quite influential. So, I mean, like you said, so how you don't really know what kind of creator you are. We are weird, aren't we? In the grand scheme of things.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's like behind the scenes, I don't know, like manipulation isn't really really the right
Yeah,
word. And now I'm
stop
thinking of
saying
like
that.
I know, like I can only think of like nefarious metaphors to use, like, what are the puppet masters, or I'm sure there's got to be a good metaphor for this, right?
We're
But
curators,
It
maybe.
would.
yeah. Okay, yeah, good. So, for example of reach too, it's slowly loading.
Are you digging into this?
66,000. Yeah, no, 66,000 views on the guide video that I posted and pinned on Reddit.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Compare that to any other guide video on that challenge base, and it's going to be like Judo and Sumit, basically probably the only people with more views on a solution guide to that video. So it's weird being not influential, but still having a hand in how influential Reddit can be overall. Like, I don't know, like I've been a mod for, it's coming on 4 years now, right, Sam? Me and you?
Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah, I've still never fully wrapped my head around that. It's because it's a weird proposition.
Yeah, it's kind of come here, do our stuff, and I don't know. It's not something we really have to think about much, is it? To be fair.
Well, also, I think there's like you don't interact that much with every single Redditor on an individual basis, whereas within the mod team, we're always like chatting with each other throughout the day. So there might be that aspect as well, where you don't realize how much of an impact you're having. Or at least I certainly don't. I'm like, oh, this is just fun little motivation thing on the side.
Well, talking about impact, do we want to go on to the impacts we've had this month?
Yeah, I was trying to set us up for a smooth transition. Reddit got to design a challenge base, which is really cool.
Well done, guys.
Oh, congratulations, everyone!
Yeah, like Reddit. I mean, like we and of us three, me. But yeah, like it's something that we've wanted to do for a while, but like haven't really asked, because again, going back, I don't know where we kind of stand in the creator realm too. So it always, personally, it would have felt like presumptive to be like, hey, like, can we do this and have that same kind of like status level as the other people who get to do it often. I know, but Ferry just handed it to us. He shot a message saying, hey, do you guys want to do this? And I immediately said yes, without even like consulting anyone else. But like, of course we're gonna say yes to that, right?
Well, you'd be mad to say no, wouldn't you?
But yeah, it's cool. We got, like, I did ask, like, hey, like, how much can we loop in everyone else on this too? Can we, obviously there's a core group of people in the NDA program that have the dev build and can do whatever. We said, like, hey, can we consult with the mods who aren't in the NDA program on it, and at least get ideas? Obviously not get them the dev build or whatever else, but they said kinda, but don't tell them but don't tell them like the theme of it or any of the specifics of the skins and scenery and stuff. So that made it
Right, which made it almost impossible for us to help out. Right, like there were a lot of ideas solicited, but ultimately, when you knew you had to kind of encompass the theme, you couldn't really use most of them.
yeah, I know, like shout out to the people who did try and help too. I know I was asking for random stuff that ended up not using. Like I said, build me a snoo out of walls, and I know you and both you guys did that. Godly was in chat giving me a billion ideas. I tried to use some of them.
Those snooze I made look terrifying. I'm glad we didn't use them.
Yeah, and they were massive too.
Did they even help? Like, or did they just make it worse?
What do you mean they?
Well, the snooze we sent you over at the pixels,
Oh.
I spent hours creating. Did you even
They
look
weren't
at it?
used. Have you looked at the base layer?
Yeah, of course, obviously, yeah.
Anyway, like it was, we had under a week. Ferry was like, hey, if you guys want to do this, we need the final base back to us by whatever date, and I think it was 6 days away. So
Yeah,
as much as I would have loved to have like a Reddit community built base, like the first thing we talked about was like, do we have time to make a post, get feedback, consider it, working into a base? And we said no, like there's no real time. We got to start building. Like none of us have any experience doing this. We got to build a test, and then we got to send it to them, and then they're probably gonna test and refine. Although they didn't make any changes that I'm aware of, at least. So basically, just got to work. The idea behind it is, the theme is Clash Games, not Olympics, Clash Games. But I definitely just did Olympic everything. Like the heroes are level 33 because it's the 33rd Summer Olympiad. My solution, the solution that almost no one used, except Itsu, was use the flame flinger to light the torch, and then like there's gold and and there's 5 tornado traps that if you trigger them all simultaneously, they make the Olympic rings. So I just leaned really heavily into like theming it for the scenery and skins instead of making it like a really complicated challenge. Somebody said, why are they talking about a torch? Because if you look at the challenge base, the design is a torch. I thought I did a really good job drawing a torch that would make it immediately obvious. There's like even the color of the wall and everything, like the wall color, it looks like a torch, right? It should be. Hopefully, anyway.
I think it well.
I really like the commentary on your video, Rick. It really made me laugh. So that was a good one.
I know. It's like, dude, I was so paranoid that everyone would freaking hate it. Like, I was so anxious about posting it, like putting it in game and doing everything else. The comments on Reddit are nearly universally positive, which is pretty cool. There's a couple people who there's always a couple people who hate it, but like to have probably 98% positive feedback on a Reddit post is got to be unheard of. Maybe that's partially because we also said we're giving away a bunch of stuff. We're gonna give away 10 gold passes and 10 gold passes and then 5 each of the legendary skins, the Queen and the Warden.
Yeah, that might have just tipped it.
Go comment on the post, like not a reply to anyone, but just comment on the post itself. And then in a day or two, we're gonna do a raffle and raffle off all the gold passes and skins too. So if you haven't seen it, go drop a comment on it. It doesn't have to be positive. It could just be a space or a period or whatever. I don't really care, but just leave a comment on it, and that's how you're gonna get entered into the raffle.
Was it not just the most upvoted comments? I thought.
No. Like it'll be anyone. Like anything that's not like removed. Because if you come and like drop some hate speech, we're gonna remove it, and then you will not win in the raffle for that.
Damn it.
That would be ironic.
But it's I will put a link in the notes of this episode, and then it's also just pinned on the subreddit. We'll leave it pinned another day or two. I don't think anything else is coming up that I know of, at least.
Yeah, I was just thinking. Did you enjoy creating the base, Rick?
It was stressful. It was kind of cool. It was weird too because I knew I didn't have any big broad concept.
Yeah, Olympics in it.
The direction we got was include all the heroes, and that was it.
Right.
So it could have been anything. Like it
right.
also like I couldn't have used the druid because the druid was like I knew the druid was coming, but it had to be submitted before. Or it was like on update day was when it needed to be submitted.
Have you two used the druid so far?
Dude, I use the druid all the time. Dude, I love the druid. Yeah, we'll come back to that. Anyway,
we'll say that to another episode.
yeah. Yeah, I don't get sidetracked on how awesome and OP the druid is, but it is. Then I don't know. I just kind of took off, just thinking like, okay, like let's give each hero their own little event to compete in, and then divided up by sections. I made a white heart as a shout out to Hero Killa from the Only Clash podcast, CTJ family member. Who passed away a little bit ago. So that's why the heart's in there, and then that's the one non-Olympic themed thing in there. But other than that, I think we talked about everything that's in there.
It would have been cool if we could have got the community to help you out a little bit, because I mean, it's kind of leads back to what we were saying earlier about how the fact that we are kind of nobodies, right? We're not, are they us? We're not any sort of notable people. It would have been cool for the Reddit base to be at least, made from ideas, solicited from Reddit. Not that we could really do anything about that. Like, I'm not saying it's your fault for taking unilateral control.
I will say though, I saw the description of the event that said designed by the Reddit community, and I'm like, oh,
It's no, don't you?
It was just us mods, and so I was like, and people are going to complain. So I asked
knew
Barry,
the top post on Hot would be community. We weren't asked.
Yeah, so like I'd asked Barry
as well.
Yeah, like shut up, let me tell the story, you idiots. I asked Ferry if he could change that to just like designed by Reddit or the Reddit mods or Reddit staff or some version of that, but just not community, because like I just didn't want to deal with like the weird accusations from all the random people like we didn't have a say in this. And he said yes, and then obviously they've been very busy with how the game fell apart on June 17th at the update, and everything that was going wrong, and then dealing with all the other drama. Like I'm not blaming him, because he obviously had more important things to do. And then the very first comment on my post, in the very first minute that it was posted, was exactly, this was really the mods. This wasn't the community doing this. And that's my tool voice, because I knew it was going to happen. But luckily, he got downvoted, and I didn't have to have that argument. Like I was just like, I saw that, I'm like, man, I hope I don't have to have an argument with 40 people on this, because it's really cool and I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, I mean it's weird because like they have a point. It would be nice for us to get Reddit involved more, but we just couldn't really. But maybe in the future that'll be an opportunity, and it would be quite nice. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. Let's rapid fire through the rest of the stuff.
Okay, go.
Yeah. But in the meantime, too, if you guys have questions for us too that you want us to go over or address, or things that you've thought of in the last hour, go ahead and ask them now. We won't rapid fire those. We'll actually give those, a good old college try. But for our remaining topics, no July medal event. How you guys feel about it?
Yay! Let's go.
I'm happy about it. Though I wish there were more rewards.
I wish it were an ore month like they did back in April instead. But I'm fine with not grinding a medal event too. Totally fine with it.
Yeah, that's cool with me.
Unlimited heroes. This is bonkers.
Let's go.
Yay!
I didn't think this would ever happen.
It's so weird. I'd be so much happy about this any other year in my life, but now I'm Max. It's like, oh, yay!
Can enjoy it. But yeah, no, I actually boosted Super Goblins and Wallbackers just for that event, just for this month. So I'm happy about it.
Is there any reason why you wouldn't boost Super Wallbreakers and
well, just because I don't have I don't want to spend the time farming,
fair enough. Are your heroes not map? Oh no, you just have about 1 million accounts. Okay, that makes more sense.
On my main, I'm talking.
Yeah.
All right. The full path is asking about will it be permanent?
No.
Do you guys think that will ever happen?
No.
I mean, I think
No.
if they because they're looking at the stats, and if they see the revenue drops to really low numbers, or if it stays more or less the same, they're like, well, okay, I guess we can get rid of this feature and be like, okay, we'll do this permanently.
It's not going to be only about revenue. Like revenue is going to play into it, I assume, but also I would imagine that player activity too. Are more people are more people playing daily and doing wars with heroes down? Are people staying in game longer, things like that? But game activity with heroes up over a whole month is a great test. I don't know if that's part of the reason they're doing it, but I at least hope they're looking at it and considering it long term, because the more hero levels we get, dude, the more is needed.
It's definitely a great test, and I imagine they're going to do something after this event. And I don't think this is going to be the last we see, heroes being able to be used while they're upgrading. But I struggle to believe they're going to completely just do permanent unlimited heroes. I think there'll be a potion or more just occasional events or something like that. I can't see them doing it permanently.
Next up, I was hoping Spencer would be here too because I wanted to ask him how much creator code revenue he got last month because we didn't really talk about it, but Spencer and I were given a creator code for Squad Busters only and for the month of June only.
Woo! Let's go.
Yeah, I tried to use yours. I tried to use yours for the gold pass. I was very disappointed.
Yeah, it worked for it was only in Squad Busters. So, do you guys have any guesses on how much money I made from Code Coolrick last month?
3 pennies.
$12.
4 cents if you're doing euros.
I say $12.
Two ways to look at it. I earned $0 because I did not hit the payout threshold. But
Right.
there were Code Coolrick usages, and I got a
Where?
grand total of 36 cents. Or
36
it's-
cents.
yeah, like what is a fraction of a euro? What are those called? Pence?
Cents.
Cent? Yeah, euros are cents.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what's a fraction of a pound though? Are those pence?
They're pennies or pence, yeah.
I don't like that you guys call them pennies. That's our thing.
Well, it's like, we call it pence, like, like, that'd be like 36 pence if it was, well, I mean, not exactly, but...
Is pence short for pennies?
Sounds
like it.
Well, no, because pennies are an object. Pennies are like a coin. Pence is just like, I don't know,
You guys should
percentile?
use Hogwarts money, really. Galleons and whatever
Yeah,
else Harry
maybe
Potter
we
uses.
should. No,
know.
pence is just pence with a percentile, so, out of 100, and then pennies just they're the physical coin. I think.
All
I
right.
hope I'm getting my etymology right.
All right. That brings us to shoutouts, I guess. I'm not seeing any other questions in chat, really.
No.
So,
I think...
Sam, do you have any shoutouts? We only do this every episode, so hopefully you have something prepared this time.
I'm
And
never
every
prepared
time
for
he
these
always
kind of
says
things.
nothing.
I'll give a shout out to Reddit Iota who hosted us three last week for a fun thing which you will all see in your podcast feeds quite soon. So shout out to Reddit Iota for hosting us through a war this week.
All right, Liam, what do you got?
I'm going to shout out actually one of my fellow clanmates who's in the chat right now. Thank you, Watermelon or Watermelon, also known as the best cat. Because no, like he actually.
Okay, yeah, it is spelled like that. I was like, what
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of weird French thing did you just do?
Exactly. No, but I mostly want to thank him for posting, because we have this one channel where whenever there's like a gold pass giveaway or something, we always post the links to it there, and he's always the other person who helps me out with that. So I really appreciate that. So shout out to you, the best cat.
Rick, take it away.
All right, Cosmo and Clash King podcast started. They have one episode out. They're working on their second. I know last time I told y'all Clash King had a podcast. It only lasted one episode, and then it went away. But this time, he assures us there will be an episode 2. So that's Cosmo from Cosmo Gaming, big name in esports. Magic Jr. is the other co-host. He's the guy just called Clash King a bunch, but his creator name is Magic Jr. They have a podcast. The first episode is out only on YouTube right now. I'll link to that, but they're working on getting it in real podcast feeds. And then also I want to say shout out to Trample Damage. He spent a lot of his free time helping me test my to test the Reddit challenge base. And I am very appreciative for your help and feedback on that, Trample. Yeah, that's it.
Second shout out. While we're talking about Trample, also shout out to the new podcast about Squad Busters. If anyone's a fan of Squad Busters here, feel free to listen to C Notes and Trample's podcast together about that.
Oh yeah. Here. Yeah. Oh no, Sam. I don't know why you're typing, because we're going to talk about this, and I'm going to edit it in before the shout outs. Another question: what's the craziest Redditor you banned?
Yeah, well, I was just saying, I don't know if we ever banned Sad Rice. I think we did, but there was this user. I can't believe I'm doxing him. I don't really care. It was a massive prick. There's this user called Sad Rice who I don't even remember what he got annoyed about. I think I changed his flair on a post, and he was just really not having it. And then for like weeks, he kept messaging me asking about stuff, and it got to the point where Rick and Davey were trying to convince him that I was a girl, and that he had just been like, I don't know, trying to chat up a girl, like harass a girl for the past few weeks. It was really quite entertaining. I don't know. I wonder how he's doing these days. But I think that must have been the craziest person I've ever banned.
I know he's trolling you and he's making multiple accounts, and then he started
Yeah.
messaging me about you, and then like somehow he knew your name was Sam, because I think this is before the podcast.
Yeah, I
And-
don't know how he knew my name.
And then so I know I told him that Sam was short for Samantha and he's harassing a girl, and he kind of backed off after that.
Yeah, he did back off. He got quite apologetic, I think, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
He got a little friendly.
Yeah.
Maybe too friendly.
Quite possibly the only instance of an internet troll getting friendlier when they find out they're talking to a woman.
I know, and I think it even got to the point like before this. I think he turned up in my clan Discord at one point. Like he was really quite persistent. He really wanted to chat with me, because I'm not even sure if he was annoyed at me. He just kept asking me, like, it was so weird. Like it started off with him breaking rules and being really annoyed that I was changing his flair, and it was something really stupid. Like he was obviously wrong. It might have even been around like a meme post or something. I'm sure I can dig up the DMs and maybe we can have a more exciting story time another time. But yeah, I think that has got to be the craziest Reddit user I've ever encountered on the sub to this day. Oh, that's another good candidate, but I'm wondering if you're going to say them.
Liam, do you have any memorable bans?
Sadly not, though I wish I had. Like, basically, there was this one guy, I wish he was on Reddit so I could have banned him, but he was basically just in my clan chat, and he has my WhatsApp phone number for some reason. But yeah, essentially, like, he was just always insulting me, and because I had some connection to France or something, it was
Yeah,
like
fair enough.
basically yeah, that was all the motivation he needed. But
Yeah.
for that, I was like, oh, like, just give it up. But yeah, that was the craziest thing. And like the lesson of that story for me was the best way to deal with haters or negative feedback is just to ignore it, because they kind of tire themselves out after a while, and then they give up, and you don't have to do anything. It's like the best medicine. But that was my story. What about you, Rick?
I'm trying to think. Like it wasn't a ban, but I accidentally, or not accidentally, I removed a couple Lady B posts, and she did not take that well. Like I mean, I don't ever look at usernames either when I do that. It's kind of one of those things where, like, if I would have known it was her, I probably would have approved it, just because we always want to encourage like content creators to come use Reddit more. So I'm willing to flex some rules, give people that special supercell treatment that everyone's mad about. I don't know, she got pretty mad in mod mail and like tried to take it to Zag way back when. This is how long ago it was. Like to take it to Zag and like was, I don't remember, like maybe I'm misremembering too, but I want to say she was like gonna get Supercell involved too.
He definitely threatened something. I can't remember what it was, but she was not happy.
It was when the Golem King skin launched. She just like posted like, hey, what's everyone thinking about the Golem King skin? And it was like the 50th post of that kind of that kind. I just removed it without thinking, and then like the one we had up and pinned was like a screenshot of someone else's Golem King video from YouTube. And then she was mad about like copyright stuff, that like actually, because that's using other people's content, and she was saying we should take it down or have people at least cite the source they took screenshots from. And then we're like, like maybe that makes sense. So we tried to make that a rule for a while, and it was impossible, and we forgot about it.
Do you remember that person that added a few of us into some group chat? I can't remember what they did, but I was just trying to find it. But there was some group chat we got added to, which is quite a good troll. I can't remember what it was, but I don't know if you can remember that.
Oh no, yeah, it was, and they named it like something about us all being pedophiles, and then like left.
Yeah, something like all I still, yeah.
Just to put us all in all in like a child porn pedophile like group chat.
I can't remember. I actually can't remember what it was, but yeah.
I think that's gonna do it for us. In a couple weeks, you will hear from some surprise voices here on RTC, and we're gonna be doing something else cool. Instead, I got something real special for y'all mid-July, if you're big podcast listener fans, and we will leave it at that. So
Yeah.
have a good couple weeks, everyone. Happy summer.
Have a good summer. Hope you
Bye,
all have a
everyone.
good rest of your day.